This video is for you if you are already trying to give up on your dream, if you're thinking that you may not be able to do it because it feels so hard and because it feels like you're not capable in doing it and you're trying to run away, escape, okay? This video is especially for you if you're trying to understand how you can motivate yourself, how you can go further in life. And I want to share with you a bit of my story. I want to give you some guidance I can give you from my own experience and as well as a coach. And my name is Patricia. I'm a life coach, as I just mentioned, and I help my clients to raise their awareness. Raise their awareness will help you to actually get you further in life because 80% of everything starts with being aware that something is going on. If you don't know, you cannot make any impact. So I want to go right into it, and it's about my own story. It's about I know how hard it can be. I know how hard it can be to go further because no one else believes in you, to not go any further because people are saying this is not possible or that is not possible. But then I look back in my own life, and what I can tell you is that I always did stuff that wasn't possible. I was told in school that with those grades I have, which were, by the way, not really bad, they were just not super well. But for them, it was really like, you have to be careful here. For them, it was really, really bad. And I was told that I will never get successful. I will never be someone, having his own company as example, or being someone, while that was their own definition of being successful. But I was told by every teacher I met, every teacher told me the same old story that you have to be better, you have to study more, you have to do this more. So I tried my best. Because when you're a child, you try to make people around yourself happy. At least that's what I tried to do. And so I did this quite long. So I lived a life that, I was trying to somehow fulfill some other dream, which wasn't mine. And you had to go through certain experiences to understand what do you really want in life. But what I realized is that I was limiting myself for so many years because I believed that their limits are my limits. I believe that if I don't go a certain structure, if I don't go a certain way, then I will never gonna make it. And I realized that that was so not true. So I made an apprentice when I was 16. And from that, I just saw as well that I want to do more. So I was always really hungry in doing more. But I also always heard this little voice in my back like, yeah, but you cannot do more. You don't have good grades. You cannot do more. Like, it doesn't work. And I just moved further and further and further. Then I got outside of the apprentice. So I finished everything. I got my degree, whatever. And I moved to Canada. I was in an au pair year. I did some studies next to it. It was fantastic. I had a really great time. That I can only say now because back then it was quite tough for me. Because going into a new country and you have no clue where you are and how you are dealing with the kids and with the new family, new places, new impressions, I had no clue. I was just there. I was quite brave even then. I would just do it. I would just jump and not really know, is this the correct way or not? I would just go. And sometimes that's really helpful and sometimes it's not. Back then it was really helpful because else I would have maybe stayed in that position, in that job. And so I learned really a lot from au pair, because seeing children, how they raise, how they grow, and seeing the potential they see in every little thing without like already being put it in a box. So children, they're really open, they're really, they have those really big dreams of possibilities. And when you're getting adult, you're told that there are certain limits, like this is only going this far, this is only going this far. That's my experience, at least. And I never really believed them, but at one point when you always hear it over and over again, I felt, maybe there is something true about it. But I was never really called to just stay there. So I would just try, and sometimes I failed, sometimes I didn't. But what I always realized is that the more you push yourself, the more you stand up again, the more you prove yourself that even if you fall, so what? So what? I failed so many times in my life that I can say I learned from the failures so much, because I didn't do the failures I did back then now. If I wouldn't have those failures, where would I stand now? If I wouldn't have tried, I wouldn't stand here right now. I wouldn't do a YouTube channel at all. I mean, do you really believe that when I was 18, I thought that I'm getting a YouTuber? No. Do you really believe that when I was 18 that I would have my own company? No. I didn't know. But I was driving for more. I wanted more. I was hungry to see the world. And what I can really tell you is that make better questions in your life. So I came back home from the au pair. I started to understand that I was only running away because I didn't like my profession I was studying. So I was like, okay, well, what now? Like, tricky, right? So you come back, you are in this studying mood, and not being super productive, Monday to Friday work, and so I came back and I was looking for something completely different. So I was doing some little side jobs and trying to find a job. I had basically no clue what I want. I really had no idea. Then I moved into a IT company. It was a global IT company. I was very lucky. And they were looking for someone to work at their reception. So you need to understand that's over 10 years ago. And it was really cool because I could use my English and I could just see so many different areas of people showing me around. They were showing me their jobs, their possibilities. And see, if I wouldn't have gone to an au pair year, even though I was super, super scared to do or to go there, where I have no clue what's coming, and I didn't have that much money. It's not that I, had so much in savings that whatever happens, you're safe. No, I didn't have that at all. And I'm sure that I wouldn't have gotten this job if I wouldn't have been an au pair before, practicing my English and, all those kind of things. They're all matched together at one point. So I moved from that position, from the reception, I moved into the back office. I did accounting, and it was very, very good experience. Again, I met so many people. They were all showing me what they were doing, trying to explain me a bit of the world, a bit of their own world. And then I tried to understand, is this projection from them, is that something I want to see more or not? And if I like what they're doing, if I see that the happiness what they have, that's really something I would like to see as well, then I ensure that I'm doing similar things like them. So if I follow any advice, any taken advice from someone, I ask myself first, does this person have what I want? Do not ask anyone for an advice where they don't know or they don't have the experience, the life experience from. You should never do that, because then you only get the advice from their limited beliefs in that system. But as example, someone from a very successful, what we call successful life, would always tell you something different than someone from, let's say, maybe a bit more poor life perspective, just in a sense of money wise, like how much money do you want to earn, those kind of questions. So would you rather hear an advice from a person who has a lot of money, or would you rather hear an advice from the perspective of not having any money, in a sense that you want to have more money? I'm not saying money makes you happy, I'm just saying what is the desire in your life that you want. So anyways, when we go back to the story, then I was working in this IT company. At one moment I realized I think it's time to go again and to see a bit of the world. So I moved in a total different environment. I moved into a banking, and that environment was really, for me, very interesting to see, because it was something completely different from what I've experienced before. It's a complete different field. And I believe that I learned from there a lot. Yeah, it was quite life-changing, I have to admit. Because many people there teach me how they see the world, how they feel the world is, and they showed me their reality. And I could just learn a lot from them. If I thought it was good or bad is not even the whole story. It's about what life do I want to create for myself? What reality do I want? Do I want the same? Yes or no? See, sometimes the questions are really easy. Is this something that I want, that I desire, or not? It's like a two-hand kind of thing, right? Yes, no. Yes, no. And at one moment I realized that the learning here, the curve was just going a bit down, in a sense that I wanted to know more about personality. I wanted to know more about the fact of how human beings are put together in a mindset kind of thing. I wanted to understand, why are people reacting on some ways different than other people's, and I started to be really interested in that, and I was doing a lot of my own healing. While when you grow up, there are a lot of childhood wounds, which is not saying that my parents were bad or anything like that. It's just saying that when you grow up, you will have some kind of hurts, or you will be hurt at some level. And it depends how deep that level is. I got quite a few wounds on myself, and I healed all of that because I felt that this was just holding me back. I tried to understand, okay, what do I have to do? So that time was very difficult for me, because it was like cleaning up my shit, It was about cleaning up everything I had behind, or I thought I left behind, but it would pop up like all the time again, same story. I would somehow pick the same friends. I would pick the same kind of boyfriends. I would pick the same kind of jobs. I would, connect to sometimes different people, but they always had the same kind of patterns. So I was following patterns, belief systems that came from very young stage, and I realized that until I'm not letting go of that part, I cannot get anything better, because that part was so heavy that I couldn't move any further. It's like you want to rise up, but you have so much stones here that is holding you back, and it's just pulling you down like all the time. Like I could just feel the pull, like it's not working for you, you cannot do it. And I was always like, but why can I not do it? Like it's not possible. So I always felt like I'm standing like a little girl on this wall, like this, hello, what's going on? Like why can't I go up? Like where is the, the thing to go up? Like where is that? It seems everyone around is able to do it. Why do I have to stand here? So I always felt like I just cannot do it. And obviously, what was one of the really, major, let's say, it was a big trauma for me, because my mom passed away when I was 16, and it hurted myself so much, but I wasn't really able to show my emotions. I closed down totally. I wouldn't really speak up. I would be very sarcastic about it. I would very limit myself, in a sense that, okay, well, love is not possible for me anymore, so let's put it aside. And I would just close down everything. I would close down my heart. I would close down everything, and I would just make sure that my security system is on. And that was how I lived for about 10 years, because after my mom passed away, that was how I tried to survive. So I was just surviving. And until I was in this banking area, and I realized that this is not the only thing I can do. I realized that when I look back in my life path, that there's so much more. Like I moved from there to here, and no one would believe that I would do it. See? And I believe that your life might be similar, because every life is very special, and every life has its advantage. And you are born with some gifts, with some talents, and if you haven't found them yet, I will do a video on it, on how you can actually reveal your talents, because you're here to give something, return something to people. And that doesn't mean you need to be the biggest star or the biggest, whatever. It just means that we are always here to share, to contribute to the world. And this is my way on how I contribute. I share my story, I coach people, and I help them to actually find their path again when they feel like they hit rock bottom. And hitting rock bottom feels really terrible, because you are in a way of, I feel stuck. I cannot move any further, I cannot go any further, and I know how that feels, and it's a terrible feeling. But I can tell you as well that if you hit that rock bottom, there is nothing stopping you anymore to go up, because you cannot go down more, And that's the other part. At one moment, you start to realize that the more you push yourself, the more you get out of it. I'm not saying that you don't need to rest. I'm saying that if you're doing every single day just a little step, at one moment, you get where you are actually really happy. You get to the stage where you feel like, wow, like I did this, I did that. See, the reason why we sometimes think that we cannot go further is because we put the negative so much on a higher weight than the positive. Imagine this. You're walking on a street, and then there are 10 people passing and saying like, oh wow, you look beautiful, like fantastic. There's one person who looks at you and is like, ugh, you're really ugly. Which one which one do you think will keep you in mind? Yes, the judgment will keep you in mind, because you're like, oh, is this really true? Maybe that is true. Maybe she's right or he's right. See? Those kind of judgments can really hold you back in going further in your life, going beyond your limits. So if you really want to go further in your life and understand that you can reach way higher than you may think you can, then it's important to really go step by step. Go step by step. And then you will see how much further you can actually go, because every single step you go and you look back and you're like, that is something I did actually really well. Acknowledge what you're doing, acknowledge your work, acknowledge what your efforts are. And when you do that constantly, you build up strength, inner strength. It's a confidence you're building up. And that confidence will make you that you push yourself even further to the limits at the moment. And every single time you reach that limit, you may be able to go a little step further, maybe just one step, maybe just two steps, but you're doing it. And that's the most important thing, is to go beyond that, because sometimes that's where the greatest things happen in the world. Go out of your comfort zone. I know many of us or many people are saying that, but it's so true. Every single time I stepped out of my comfort zone, I had the feeling of wow. Like, I never thought this is going to happen. And so now I reached the level of having my own company. That happened after the banking experience. I'm having my own company, and I can just tell you that I'm really happy with what I'm doing. It's very much joyful. It's very much of the dream of what I could think of working. And I believe this is possible for you too. The only thing you really need to think of is one really specific question. What would you do in your life if you wouldn't feel any fear? What would you do in life if you wouldn't feel any fear? Think of that. Leave me a comments below. And it was very nice with you today. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And I would say, see you next time. I forgot. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. If you liked my video, like that button below, please. And I would say, see you next time.